Good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday, it's 1 o'clock, and that must mean it's time for a live stream. Welcome to the LSL live stream PD for Friday, March 19, 2021. And today's topic is social emotional learning with the LSL counseling team. So before we get into our main presentation, we have a few little technical updates and a message from one of our sponsors. We don't have sponsors. You'll see. Anyway, some Chromebooks some updates are being made to Chromebooks, and we are noticing a little bit of an uptick in some Chromebook issues. And what we also notice is that 99% of those issues, some of which are manifesting as Google Meet entry problems for students, are solved with a restart. In addition, now's the time where a couple of things are being updated in preparation for things like CASP, unfortunately. So that requires an update for your students as well. I know that we've said this before, we will continue to reiterate, make sure your students restart their Chromebooks on at minimum a weekly basis, because Google's constantly pushing updates to Chrome browser and Chrome operating system that really help keep the Chromebooks up to date and working correctly. So again, please, in the next coming weeks, make sure your kids are on top of their restarts. And just maybe a good general hint to them in general with Chromebooks is restart solves 99% of those problems. Additionally, there is a new Google Meet feature, which I'm sure that you've seen. And, you know, it comes with a pop-up and a little message, not a pop-up, like an on-screen message. And we have a tendency to do what we call in computer training, click through without reading. So here's this feature, and it has been something that we've wanted for a long time. Ends the call for everyone, right? So we don't have to wait for kids to finish, and we can just turn off the call for everyone. Yay, hooray. So here's what it does as well, though. It turns off quick access, which means that the quick access feature, you can see when you're in a Google Meet under the blue padlock on the lower left, you only see that blue padlock. Well, it's a blue shield with a padlock on it when you're the meeting owner or organizer. So quick access is, do you remember for Good Teaching Conference and for Tech Conference, you had to ask to join and somebody had to admit you? Well, when you end the call for everyone, instead of just leave the call, it turns the quick access off, which means that everyone now has to wait for you to admit them the next time. They can't just come back and rejoin. So just an FYI, if before your kids could just enter the meet and you didn't have to, you know, that ding dong, the doorbell, and you're like, the doorbell's driving me crazy. Go into the little blue shield with the padlock, turn the quick access back on. When you see the little slider is white there, it means it's off. And that means the doorbell will go away. But just know, every time you use end the call to make everybody leave at the same time, it'll turn the quick access off automatically. So if you're seeing that change, that's what it's for, or that's why it is. As we do every time we have a live stream, we'd like to remind you that for all your educational, technology, training, professional development, and just overall support needs, you can email edtech@lsl.org. It goes to the entire department so that your email will be seen more quickly. Also, that office hours live Google Meet office hours are held by George and Celia Wednesdays and Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Whoops, too far. Just a note, next week on the live stream will be special ed Q&A. So get your special ed questions ready. You can submit those questions. Please wait until after this live stream is over, but you use the same live stream question form that we always have. You can submit those questions over the entire course of the week, starting at 2 o'clock today when this live stream is done, and submit your questions over the course of the week so you don't have to, you know, think of them and type them in at the last minute. And now, a word from our sponsor. He's not really our sponsor, but I didn't know how to.
Is that what you meant by sponsor?
Yeah, you're the sponsor. So
okay,
anyway,
got it. I'm okay with that. You all should have received an email. I think it was a couple of days ago. I think I sent it on Wednesday. But if you look at your email on Wednesday, I sent an email titled LSL Thrive, sign up. And so in that email, I basically explained that I know a lot of you were aware that We had started doing some wellness sessions last year, and then COVID hit, and then, right? And so this year at GTC, I asked for some feedback about like how maybe we could move forward with the project. And so through all of that, I decided to put together some resources. And I explained in the email that like, so I'm going to be making some like short, like yoga videos. Like I'm thinking even like 15, 20, 30 minutes, not like, you know, a long 1-2 hour thing, but just so that they're mostly going to be pre-recorded so that you can do them at your own time at home, right, in the comfort of your own home, whenever you have time, because timing has always been, right, an issue consideration. So I'll be making those. Sometimes I get like offers and incentives and resources from CVT because they have a contact point for like each of the districts that they work with, and CVT's the company for what for our insurance. And so if sometimes I get those things, and if I ever get them, then I can forward them to you. The only caveat being that like I also want to respect people's space in general, and so I don't want to be like cluttering your emails if you aren't interested. And so in the email I specifically said like, if you want me to send you periodic things, please sign up. And so it's an opt-in. If you don't want to, just ignore me, you're fine, you're all good. But if you want to opt in, you can either click from the link. I know Claudia Melendez also included in the district newsletter. You can use that bit.ly/sign me up, Celia, all lowercase. And then I'll have your email address, and then every like week or so, you'll get an email from me with some updates. So if you're interested, sign up, email, link. It's literally one-click Google form to sign up. So back to Josh.
Okay, thank you, Celia. So if you're interested in that, Alisol Thrives, bit.ly/sign me up, Celia, all lowercase. And now, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome the Alisol counseling team to go ahead and unmute and turn your cameras on, and they will be leading us through a social emotional learning session today. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going to stop presenting now. So it's all you guys.
Thank you, Josh. My name is Christina Palmer, and most of you know me. I am the director of MTSS and a couple of other things that don't matter so much in this moment. I'm very honored to work with these amazing counselors and all of you in the pursuit of support for our boys and girls. We were excited to be included in today's live stream, and we have a wonderful presentation planned. I know that you have been experiencing the support of the counselors, both as they've worked tirelessly with your students and the families at your campuses, but also with you. And they, in much appreciation of all that you do, wanted to provide 3 members of our team, but the whole team came together to really support the effort, to provide an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the social and emotional learning competencies, and then also practical ways for you to implement them in your classroom. So before beginning, I would just like to invite the team to introduce themselves, and I'm going to begin by asking Ms. Soto to sort of step up to the plate first. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Soto, and I'm the school counselor at Alisol Community. Thank you.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. My name is Araceli Avalos, school counselor elementary. Go Chieftains!
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Janet Martinez, and I'm the school counselor at Chavez. So go Eagles.
Good afternoon, teachers. It's Sharon Nichols, school counselor at Creekside Elementary.
Good afternoon, Alisol. My name is Marisol Contreras Rico, and I'm school counselor at Frank Paul.
Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Timothy Miguel, and I am the school counselor proudly serving the school community of Dr. Oscar F. Loya Elementary.
Hey, good afternoon. It's nice to have all of you here. My name is Brenda Chides, and I'm the school counselor at Montevey Elementary School.
Okay, so I think that was all of us. So no.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Casey Zavala, and I'm the counselor for Jesse G. Sanchez.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Travis Jones, and I'm the school counselor at Steinbeck.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Liliana Juarez, and I'm the school counselor at Virginia Rocabarty.
And Miss Maria Morales, who is the school counselor at MLK, was not able to be here today. We also have a vacancy at Fremont Elementary, but that's going to be filled with the counselor starting officially as we return from spring break. Thank you so much, and counselors, go get them.
Okay, so now that was it. Sorry, my nerves got the best of me. I heard a silence and I wanted to fill it. But we are, so as Miss Dr. Palmer mentioned, we prepared a presentation and we wanted to cover the SEL competencies. So these are the competencies that we come into your classroom and present the social emotional learning skills. And so we wanted to talk about those and talk to you guys or give you guys some practical strategies for implementing them in your classroom. So let's see. So in today's presentation, we're going to start off, I'm going to start off with the mindfulness activity. We're going to do a check-in for you guys, an emotional check-in, then go over the classroom strategies, and with a mindfulness activity and have some time for questions and comments. Okay, so let's get into some mindfulness. So in the last, Sharon, if I could just ask you to mute, please. That way you're not coming in and out, but thank you. So in the last live stream that we facilitated, Sharon, actually, that you guys just saw a little bit of, she led some mindfulness activities, and we heard in the comments that you guys wanted some more, and so here it is. Just as a reminder, what is mindfulness? So it's the practice of paying attention closely with all of your senses to the present moment, right here, right now, without judgment. Without judgment, I think that's probably the hardest thing about mindfulness. And it's just really being kind to yourself. Like we say, be kind to others. It's being kind to yourself. And just not judging when you're in the practice. So let's get into a mindful sit. And this is how I usually will leave something with students. If you can sit up straight wherever you are, go ahead and sit up straight. Melt into your seat, if you will. Find a comfortable position. Relax your shoulders. Move them away from your ears. Relax the muscles in your face. I think I tend to really tighten those and don't even notice. So relax the muscles in your face. You may close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, just lower your gaze. And let's start by taking a few mindful breaths, and then I'm going to lead you into a mindful scan, through a mindful scan. So breathing slowly through your nose, and out through your mouth. Breathe in slowly. And breathe out. One more, breathe in. And breathe out. Continue breathing at your own pace. And with each breath, just relax the muscles in your body. But let's start by imagining a butterfly. So imagine a butterfly and picture what your butterfly would look like. What colors it has, what shape it is. And now follow this butterfly. It's going to land on your head. And notice your head and any sensations that you have on your head. Now it's kind of moving towards your face. Notice any tightness in your face, your eyes, your forehead. You're going to move to your shoulders now. It's flying to your shoulders. It's landed on the shoulder. And notice any tightness or any other sensations you have in your shoulders. We tend to hold a lot of tension in our shoulders when we stress. So relax them, just breathe through them. And then the butterfly is going to fly and land on your stomach now. In our stomach, we also tend to hold a lot of our emotions. So just notice the sensations that you have in your stomach. And we say without judgment because we're not going to try to change anything. We're just going to notice. We're noticing and paying attention to our breath. Our butterfly is wandering to our lower body and it's landed on our legs, on our thighs. Notice any sensations on your thighs and your knees. Notice how they're connected to your hamstrings and your shins. And notice any sensations, tightness, the temperature. Now we're moving down to the lower, to your feet, your ankles, your toes. Wiggle them a little bit. And again, go back to just your whole body and find anything that is still tight. Just pay attention to any tightness. And guide your butterfly there as it softly lands on that area. We're gonna take 3 more breaths and soften it. So breathe in and out. Two more breaths on your own. Okay, and now open your eyes and come back. So I hope that was helpful. Just helps us to check in with our body and see where we are. And so now we're going to move into a mental health, a social, an emotional check-in, and Brenda's going to lead us in that one.
Thank you, Marisol, for that mindful scan. I needed it. So yes, now moving on to our social emotional competencies. As many of you know, when we start our presentations with our students, we always like to start off with a check-in. And this is already a tool that we use to build on one of the competencies, which is self-awareness. And we'll discuss more about how it integrates into that. But I just wanted you to take a moment, and I know that I can't see your faces, but just if you can take a moment to see where you're at on this Friday afternoon. How is your battery feeling? Do you feel like it's at an empty? Usually I would have students show me a 1 if they're at an empty. If they're struggling, our battery's running kind of low, we would show a 2. If you're in the middle, you're still kind of charged, but getting closer to draining, then it's a 3. Your battery's okay, 4. And if you're feeling great and excited, you're fully charged, show me a 5. So just take a moment and check in with yourself. How are you feeling? How's your battery? How charged is your battery at this moment? Okay. So with that check-in, we've already began a practice. That simple action is already a practice of self-awareness. And I just want you to keep in mind that there are 5 competencies that we focus on that are led, that are brought to us by CASTLE, which is the organization that talks about them. But all these competencies build on each other, right? So we'll go through self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, right? Relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. And it's kind of like when we teach math. We won't be able to teach a child division if they haven't learned to add. And so the same thing happens with our competencies. We first need to become self-aware. That means of our emotions, identifying like our own emotions, our thoughts, our values, and how they influence our behavior. We'll need to be able to master these skills before we're able to manage them. So if you're not able to recognize or identify your feelings, it becomes harder to manage them and deal with them in the future. So again, with self-awareness, we're focusing on having students identify their feelings, become aware of their emotions. we also want them to be able to identify who they are, their personal likings, their cultural backgrounds, practicing things such as growth mindset, right? That the abilities they have and not limiting themselves, knowing that making mistakes are okay and that they're going to learn from them. So that is the concept of self-awareness. And now I kind of want to move on to some practical strategies. Is how can you implement this in the classroom? So again, one of the basic tools that they need is to be able to identify their emotions. One of the tools that I use in our counseling that you can easily integrate into your classroom is having a feelings chart, right? Having a visual identification that they're able to look at and kind of point out to the feeling. Just think about, like, us as adults, we have different emotions going through our body, and sometimes it's really difficult to identify that emotion, right? And sometimes the identifying of the emotion makes us more frustrated when we can identify. So making it as easy as for students is a great way to be able to help them learn to identify their emotions and grow their emotions vocabulary. So I always suggest having a feelings chart. We have some available. I've provided some to some teachers. So please do reach out to your counselor if you do need access, getting hold of the feelings chart. Okay. The second strategy that I strongly suggest is our students, all of our children learn through modeling. The way that we do things, they look up to us. They want to be just like us, right? So modeling for a student that it's normal to have every feeling. Every time I come into a classroom, I again ask for them to check in with their feelings, and I remind them that it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's how we manage those emotions that can ultimately get us into trouble or not. But having the feeling is acceptable. So normalize expressing your own feelings, right? I think that sometimes we try to avoid letting students see us angry or frustrated. And I think those are perfectable, great teaching opportunities to just say, hey, you know what? I need a timeout right now. Give me 5 seconds or 1 minute to just take a deep breath. So modeling for students that we have those same emotions. And then I'm adding another sample activity that I like to do with students, and it's called the face mask activity. And so in this activity, you would have a student cut out a face mask, right? And in that face mask, you're asking them to identify their emotions, their feelings, their thoughts, things that they don't share with everyone. So we all come into the world kind of putting up a face, right? Sometimes we're feeling really scared and nervous, like I am right now, but I'm trying to appear calm and ready for this presentation, right? But it's important for them to be able to understand, what are the feelings that I'm really having? And by having them do this mask, they can, inside the mask, they can write down those feelings, draw those feelings that's hard for them to show to everyone else. And on the outside of the mask, then I have them see, like, okay, what do other people really do see? Are they seeing a smile on your face when you're really feeling angry or sad? Or what are those feelings that you are allowing other people to see when you are present or surrounded by them? So again, in this strategy with self-awareness, we're just trying to get students to become comfortable identifying their feelings, owning their feelings, and accepting that all feelings are acceptable. So we can move on to the next. Okay, the other very important concept that we like to cover a lot in our presentations is growth mindset, right? And that's also part of self-awareness, is teaching them how to believe in themselves and not give up even when things are hard. So one of the things that we highly suggest and that's easy for you to implement in your classroom is how we praise our students. So I know the chart is very small to see, but I'm assuming that you'll have access to this presentation. But it's very important that in our classroom as teachers, as staff, that we praise our students for their effort, for their strategies that they're using, right? For their hard work, for not giving up, for being persistent. And I always like to even praise them for the mistakes they make, to know, hey, this is a step at a learning. A mistake is a step towards learning. So always recognizing those things instead of like talent or being smart or being born gifted or fixed abilities, right? When we praise the effort, we're letting them know that when you try harder or when you continue to try, even if you failed once, that you can achieve things. But rather when we just praise them for being smart, they believe that that's something that they either have or don't have and can't develop. So now we will move on to social self-management. And so, like I said, in order to be able to manage our feelings, we have to first be able to recognize them. We have to be able to identify them and feel comfortable talking about them. So the second competency that we'll be talking about is self-management. And as it sounds, it's just the ability to manage one's emotions, our thoughts, and our behaviors effectively in different situations. So this is kind of the part where we struggle with students who are pretty impulsive, or who don't wait for their turn, right? Or who have a difficult time, or who will act out their emotions rather than stopping and thinking before acting. So in this competency, we want to identify the coping skills or strategies that students can use to manage their own stress. We want them to be able to exhibit self-discipline and self-motivation. We want them to be able to motivate themselves to do things, right? This is especially proven to be important right now that we're working remotely. We want students to have their own, to motivate themselves to be able to get that work done, especially the asynchronous work that they need to do on their own. We also want them to start talking to them about having personal and collective goals. And sometimes this is difficult for students to say, when a goal is long-term, to say, how am I going to get there? It becomes overwhelming. So we're going to talk about a practical strategy about how to do that. And again, encouraging students to take initiative, and then be their organizational skills that are going to lead them to be able to achieve those goals and self-manage things like schedules and routines. So one of the ways that we can always manage our feelings and manage our emotions when we're having a difficult time, or even to just savor those rich experiences that we're having, those positive feelings, is through a grounding activity. And so I'm going to invite you to join me on this grounding activity as a practical example that you can easily implement in your classroom. So if you can take a moment and just grab an object that you have near. It can be any object. It doesn't have to be a special object. So in this case, I have a little one, so I'm grabbing her little ball. So go ahead and take that object, and we can start off with just one deep breath in. We'll exhale. And now I want you to hold that object in your hand. Remember that as we're doing the grounding activity, we're going to be focusing on all of our senses, or the majority of our senses, right? We're going to take a moment to look at this object through all of our senses. So as you're holding the object, just take into consideration, what shape is it? What is it round? Is it squared? And now let's move on to the texture. What are the feelings or the sensations that you get when you touch this object? Is it rough? Is it soft? Is it flexible? Is it really hard? And then moving on to your sight, take a look at the object. Look at its color. Look at any print it might have. We'll now move on to the smell. You can hold it close to your nose and smell. Notice if it has any smells. And in this particular instance, I want to remind you that things that do have smells can relate to other memories we've had. They can remind us of things we've lived through. Remember that with this grounding activity, we're practicing mindfulness and being in the present moment. So if that smell's taking you to another memory, just acknowledge the memory and come back to your present self, to the here and now. And finally, we're going to move on to sound. So hold it close to your ear and just notice if it makes any sounds. When you turn it around, or when you hold it, when you squeeze it, does it make any sounds? Are the sounds loud? Are they soft? Are they pleasant? So again, that activity that we just did is a grounding activity. We're focused on just being present in the moment, focusing on one object. And what that helps us do is, again, it helps us from being worried about what's going to happen in the future or being focusing on what happened in the past, right? We're present, we're grounding ourselves and knowing, hey, this is a moment, acknowledging how we're feeling and just being present. So that's a wonderful strategy that you can use at any time of the day with your students in order to practice that self-management, especially when we're feeling dysregulated. I think would be great when we're coming back from recess, when we are on campus, right? They're coming from an environment where there's not so much structure. So coming back in and grounding ourselves back into the classroom. Okay, and other practical strategies for self-management is for little ones, I always like to encourage games because they enjoy them, they have fun with them, and they actually don't realize they're practicing an essential skill. But games such as Simon Says, Green Light, Red Light, or the Freeze Dance, they encourage students. They help students be identify their body and paying attention and managing those two feelings at the same time, right? They have to be present in their body. They have to recognize their movements, recognize what they're hearing so that they can be successful in the game. So again, what Simon says, we're encouraging them to be aware of when we say Simon and then be able to reduce their impulsivity, to think before they do the action in order to be able to control that impulse. And so those are great strategies that you can use with the lower grade. Again, these games teach children how to regulate their bodies and their behaviors. And what's important in these games is that after playing the game, you do have a discussion with your class about how it felt to have to listen carefully and control their bodies. I think that's one of the best things you can do, because I think it makes students realize, especially those students who are really impulse, they'll let you know, right? Oh, it was so hard. It was, and you can praise them that they were able to achieve that, right? The skills that they were able to use in order to be able to be successful in the game. And again, you can do this at any time, and coming back from recess or any time where you feel like the student might need like a brain break. And that can be used for upper and lower grades. However, some of our older students have a hard time, right, wanting to engage in those activities. But we do ask them to create goals. And one of the ways that you can motivate them to create SMART goals is by doing this activity that I found through Class Dojo. So there's a lot of great resources on Class Dojo as well. And I found this to be a great way to integrate self-management into the classroom. So I know when we think about SMART goals, they're even hard for us adults, right? I have to create goals for my students when I start seeing them in counseling. And it's really hard to create these SMART goals that are, but it can be broken down into steps to make it easier for students. So we want to define an achievable goal, a long-term goal that they have, right? It might be, for some of them, it's learning how to read or learning how to spell correctly, whatever their goal is. You want them to be able to define it, and we want it to be realistic, right? I think sometimes we want, like students will say, I want to learn how to read, right? But they still haven't memorized their sounds or know the phonics. And so we want to be able to help them break them up into small goals, which is what we're going to do in this activity. So once they've determined their long goal, which we realize is going to be a realistic goal for them to achieve, then in the little strips that you see on the paper, we're going to write down baby steps that are going to let them reach that goal. So discuss every step that they need to take every day to achieve that long-term goal, right? It might start off with like, I'm going to bring my pencil and notebook every day to school, right? So small little goals that they're achievable and they're going to feel successful doing. And the nice thing about that is that it's tangible. So once they've achieved that goal, they can rip that off, and you can have a visual for them maybe on the classroom where they can pin it up. I'm picturing like a mountain, right, where they can pin up until they reach that particular long-term goal that they want to do. So again, students write down their steps that they need to take on the strips, and once they've completed it, they'll tear it off and put it in the class ladder or whatever it is that can be a visual for them. And then we're going to, again, praise them for achievement, praise them for their effort in getting to that, to that big goal or to that long-term goal. And again, and even in this strategy, we're also practicing growth mindset, right? Because as teachers, we're gonna be praising the effort, not their ability to get to the goal, and that's it. So we're encouraging growth mindset. So these are some practical strategies that we've talked about for self-awareness and self-management. And now I'm gonna pass it on to Travis, who's gonna continue with the next two.
All right, thank you, Brenda, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm going to be talking to us about 2 more of the 5 PASL social emotional learning competencies. And I'm going to start with social awareness. And social awareness is basically the student's ability to understand and respond appropriately to situations with others. And these situations can be anywhere, the kids. It could be at home, in the classroom, at recess, when we get back on campus, in public, wherever. And students with these skills are able to identify how people are feeling, the social expectations, rules, norms, that kind of thing, and respond in a way that doesn't get themselves in trouble or hurt other people. And this skill can be taught at school and at home. And it's a critical skill when it comes to making friends, because students who can make friends usually understand each other. They have empathy. They're able to listen well. They have those social skills to make friends. And they can also resolve conflicts. They're better able to express their emotions and understand other people's perspectives when they have good social awareness skills. And it helps them develop emotional intelligence, which is both understanding themselves and understanding other people. And students can improve social awareness by learning about empathy, which is a major concept in a few of our presentation topics this year. And empathy is basically the ability for kids to understand each other's emotions and relate to them. Even if they don't fully understand, they're going to try to relate to those students. And talking to new students, meeting new people and understanding that we are different and that's okay. So getting students comfortable kind of with different kinds of students in different situations is another aspect of social awareness too. And you might be asking, how might they learn these skills in the classroom? And next, I'm going to go over a couple activities to do that. And the first one is learning circles. And the big thing with learning circles that students can do is they sit in a circle and they learn about different things about each other, basically. So they could know what makes you the happiest, what do you like, what you don't like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And these are small groups where students can just get to know each other. And hopefully that knowledge of each other will help them make friends, learn to empathize with each other, learn more things about each other. Maybe another student has a different experience that they don't have, so they're able to learn more about that kind of situation, develop those social skills. So yeah, that's one way in the classroom. It should be pretty simple to implement. Maybe in remote learning, it could be done via breakout rooms. And the second activity is diversity story time, where students learn about people of different cultures, religious beliefs, learning abilities, backgrounds, languages, anything that can separate kids from one another. And from these stories, they want to learn basically that we can be friends with anyone, we should be nice to everyone. These things are unique about us, but they don't mean that we should treat people differently based on those things. We all deserve to be treated with respect, and we can become friends, or at least be nice to everybody, and we can learn about each other by understanding and respecting those differences. All right, so the next concept I'm going to talk about is relationship skills. And relationship skills are similar to social awareness, but they basically refer to the student's ability to make healthy relationships with others. And that goes with their friends, their family, their teachers, anyone they can come in contact with. And a healthy relationship is pretty much just what it's meant to be. It's supportive, it's fun, it's safe, it's age appropriate, it's the appropriate role of the relationship. And students need to develop the skills so they feel safe, make friends, develop empathy, and understand other social skills. So making friends, getting along with each other, learning to resolve conflicts, learning to get to know more people, being comfortable with themselves, trying to make friends, ask questions. These are all part of relationship skills. And these skills closely align with coping skills, because using other people as a resource is a good way to overcome challenges that some kids might have, especially this year with all the craziness. And relationship skills can prevent bullying, violence, and help foster a healthy school climate, which is very important for kids to feel welcomed and accepted at school. And there's many ways that adults can help students develop relationship skills by encouraging active listening, which Brenda talked about a little bit, which means the students are giving them that respect, that body language, looking at them, actually thinking about what they're saying, and then responding back in an appropriate way. And accepting others who might be different. That's another major theme of empathy, is that even if you think someone is different from you or don't always agree with their perspective, you're still trying to understand and respect their point of view. All right, awesome. So the last activity I'm going to go over with us is Make New Friends Bingo. So this activity is kind of similar to what we talked about with the first one, with the learning circles. And it's a bingo game, and they just mark up things that they have that are true about themselves. So I have a pet was the first one, or I was born in summertime, or I like this food. I have traveled here. I have read this book. I've seen lots of things be used in the boxes, and the students are supposed to find ways that they're similar, maybe ways that they're different, and then meet that student and get to know them and start a conversation after that topic. And then hopefully this activity will help them build skills like communication, active listening, and understanding each other. So I'm going to pass it on to Marisol, who's going to talk about our last topic, which is responsible decision making.
Okay, so let's move on. Give me a second. Okay. So responsible decision making, it's yes, this is another SEL competency, social emotional learning competency, and it's the ability to be able to make constructive choices, to make responsible choices. It's probably something that a lot of the teachers. It's one of our standards, right? Make good choices, and so, but being able to do so is having the ability to look at the different options, to be able to look at the benefits and the consequences of behaviors. So it does involve a lot of the other social emotional learning skills that we've already reviewed, like being self-aware and being aware of others, and so how our actions are going to affect other people. So having empathy, as Travis was just mentioning. So like Brenda said at the very beginning, these skills build on each other. So responsible decision making requires being able to have that self-awareness, so that we could, self-awareness and the social awareness. And so it's just the ability to look at our different options, analyze the consequences and the benefits, and then choose an option that it's going to be the best option, so that we promote personal and social well-being. Okay, so some practical strategies for the classroom. For the little ones, teaching a formula, so something very concrete for helping them to make good decisions. And there are some great visuals, graphics that you can print out, laminate, and have them up on a wall, so it's easy for the kids to see. Like a lot of the times is like a light. I'm thinking of the word. So you go. I can't think of the word. I'm sorry, but so just some kind of visual, right? So like the red light, green light, yellow light. So like a stop, think, go. Stop, think about what your different options are, and then go, and then make a choice. What's the best choice? For the upper grades, you might get a little bit more into it, and still, it's you're teaching them to stop, to create a space, a pause in between, thinking about what the options are, and then acting on them, and identifying what the problem is, identifying what the different options are, and then choosing one. So that is that's, that's one activity. And like I said, you can have a graphic, put it up on the wall, and then revisit as necessary. Morning circles, you can incorporate this into lower grades. Having a scenario, just bringing up a scenario, and like, for example, a friend asks you to let them copy your homework, what would you do? And then facilitating in the classroom, facilitating that conversation. And you can involve the other competencies. So what emotions would we have in this scenario? What are the options? Do you let your friend copy? Do you not let your friend copy? And what would be the consequences of doing so? So in this scenario, you're really touching on a lot of social emotional skills, the ability to self-awareness to identify their emotions, social awareness to identify, how are they going to relate to others, and how, that you might have them think like, it has to do with like that peer pressure. But really it's just, it's the giving them opportunity to think through these scenarios before they actually have to face it, or they're probably already facing it, but you're creating a space for them to really think about it and helping them to make appropriate and good choices. For the upper grades, I know I hear teachers talk about collaborative conversations a lot, but we're going to in these upper grades define what responsibility, what is ethical, or ethics. What does that mean to be ethical, safe? Define the values and honesty. So defining that first for them, and then as you guys can even just incorporate it into a social skills activity. Read a historical or current event, and then discuss the decisions made by the people involved or the parties involved. And so you can, so you mean at the same time you are discussing, you're developing so many skills there, right? The communication skills, if you're doing this in a group, and at the same time you are doing something academic, and helping them develop those skills to be able to tease out, to really just to take a moment to pause and figure out what are my options, and then choose from there. Okay, so that was the last social emotional skill, and we are nearing the end of our presentation. But we wanted to finish off with another mindfulness activity. In mindful feelings, when I go into the classrooms and I talk about feelings, and when I do that first emotional check-in, the feelings check-in, I always tell students that all feelings are acceptable. I even have it repeat it. Repeat after me. All feelings are acceptable. And so being mindful of our feelings is being aware of them, just acknowledging them in the present moment. And with mindfulness, right, we're in the present moment, because if we're thinking about the past, maybe we might get stuck on something that was hurtful, that made us sad. If we're thinking about the future, a lot of the times we're thinking about things that are maybe causing some stress, anticipatory stress, the anxiety. So I always think about this. I heard it once and it really resonated with me. Thinking about the present is less scary than the future. So being aware of our feelings in the moment can just help us to ground ourselves, to regulate, and to manage our feelings, and then accepting them. So the piece about mindfulness that is without judgment is when we acknowledge our feelings, we're just going to notice them. Just notice the feeling, but we're not going to try to change it. We're not doing so much about changing it, just acknowledging that, and so that it doesn't seem so scary. So I am a person that tends to worry a lot and feels nervous about things. So, how I might address that is like, I'm feeling nervous in the moment. Right now, I'm feeling nervous. So I'm acknowledging that I'm nervous. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling nervous. And when we acknowledge it and we welcome that feeling, it's not so scary, and it's not going to control us. So we're able to manage it better. And that's where that self-management comes in. So I'm just going to lead you in a quick little guided meditation. If you guys just hold on just 1 second. Okay, I have it on my phone, and it's a little mindfulness card that I use with students. So let's just start. Let's get back into our mindful sit with our. If you're sitting down, go ahead and plant your feet flat on the floor. Feel that earth and that ground beneath you. It's strong. It's holding you. Go ahead and just notice how it feels, just wherever you're sitting. Notice that sensation of your body against your seat. Your back should be straight, your shoulders relaxed and away from your ears. And let's take a couple mindful breaths. So breathe, close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Continue breathing on your own, and just notice how your tummy rises and falls with each breath. Then take a few breaths on your own and just notice that movement, how your body moves with each breath. Now feel your muscles sinking into that seat, wherever you're sitting. Let your body be as still as possible. Imagine now that you are a joyful jellyfish floating in the water. Now let your worries glide off your jelly body. Feel them slip away in the water. Continue to be mindful of your breath. And now you might be noticing some worries, some tension, but we're just gonna acknowledge it, notice it, and then just let it glide off our jelly bodies. Float freely through the sea. Nothing's in your way, nothing holding you back. Continue to breathe and pay attention to your breathing. For a few more breaths. And when you're done, you can wiggle your body a little bit, become awaken yourself. And we're going to take our joyful jellyfish heart with you wherever you go. Take it into the weekend. Take it into next week as you start your teaching. And when you have those worries and that anxiety, or just being nervous about certain things, notice it, pay attention to it, welcome it, and it won't be as scary. And you'll be able to kind of manage it better. All right. Well, that's the end of our presentation. I hope that you guys found that beneficial. And now I'm gonna go back to Celia or Josh for them to kind of take a look at any questions or comments that were sent in.
Thanks, Marisol. That was great. I don't see any questions that have been submitted, and I can see that our audience has maintained at the same level the whole time. So folks are with you. Maybe they're a little too relaxed to be typing in questions, or they've just let questions go from their mind. But if there are questions for you guys, I don't see them. Celia, am I missing something? Okay. So that being said, thank you very much to the counseling department. I keep meaning to look to camera, and I'm looking over at Marisol's picture. But in any case, thank you, Marisol, and Dr. Palmer, and the whole rest of the counseling team. And thank you all to all of our teachers and our audience watching now. We really appreciate it. We'll go ahead and end a few minutes early today. as we say at the end of every week, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and be good to our kids. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend. Bye.